a very famous incident that took place at the early days of Mecca, when all the gangsters, the worst of the disbelievers, were hanging out in Dar al-Nadwa, and they went to Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira, one of the wealthiest people in Mecca, that they were wishing if there would be a messenger, he would be Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira, not Muhammad. So they told him, go and see what Muhammad is saying, and let's throw some rumors in the city about his words. Let's say he's a magician, he's a poet, he is whatever, but go and catch whatever he says and come back to us. Al-Walid goes and he says, Ya Muhammad, the famous story that we shared many times, what do you want? أما إن أردت نساء زوجناك بأجمل نسائنا إن أردت مالا جمعنا لك أطيب مالنا إن أردت سيادة سيدناك علينا. If you want authority, if you want money, if you want women, we got all of that for you. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, with all the kindness and politeness, he asks him, and he tells him, Ya Am, أفرغت, O uncle, look at the adab. Are you done? قال نعم. أو تسمع مني? Do you want to listen from me? فقال نعم. Rasulullah started reciting verses from Surah Fussilat. حاميم تنزيل من الرحمن الرحيم كتاب فصلت آياته قرآنا عربيا لقوم يعلمون بشيرا ونذيرا. And he kept reciting until he reached فإن أعرضوا فقل أنذرتكم صاعقة مثل صاعقة عاد وثمود. If they turn away from the words of the Lord, then warn them of a thunderbolt, just like the one was sent to Ad and Thamud. At that point, Al-Walid couldn't take it anymore, and he put his hand in the mouth of Rasulullah and he said, Hasbuka, hasbuk. Enough. He goes back to his Dar al-Nadwa's friends, and they see him coming from a distance, and they know that this face has changed. فَقَالُوا وَاللَّهِ لَقَدْ أَتَى بِغَيْرِ الْوَجْهِ الَّذِي جَاءَ بِهِ. This face has changed. He came, and they're expecting that he would stop throwing some lies. This man is a poet. This man is a magician. This man is crazy. But look at what he said. وَاللَّهِ أَنَا أَعْلَمُكُمْ بِالشِّعْرِ وَلَيْسَ بِشَاعِرٍ. I am the best one who knows what poem is. And this is not a poem. وَأَنَا أَعْلَمُكُمْ بِالْكَهَانَةِ وَهُوَ لَيْسَ بِسَاحِرٍ. And I know what magic is. And this is not a magician. وَاللَّهِ إن قوله لقوله لحلاوة وإن عليه لطلاوة وإن أعلاه لمثمر وإن أسفله لمغدق وإنه ليعلو ولا يعلى عليه وإنه ليهدم ما تحته. Whatever he said of Quran is so fruitful and it's covered with a sweetness that once it touches your heart, it softens it. وَإِنَّهُ, and it's always superior above any word that would be said, and nothing can be superior over it, and he destroys everything underneath it. The rumor spread out that Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira turned to Islam, so he had to say something. By the way, Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira is one of those disbelievers whom Allah brought one of the greatest believers from his blood, his skin, and his son is Khalid ibn al-Walid radiyallahu anhu. This was the understanding, was the feeling of Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira, a kafir, when he listened to the Quran. When the Quran touched his heart, he couldn't deny it. Despite his position, his arrogance, his ego, when Quran falls in your heart, there is no two ways about it, will revive it again. And wallahi, bring it to life like nothing else does. As we are approaching the end of Ramadan, and everyone has already had his journey with the Quran. You have finished your one khatmah, your two khatmas, your three khatmas. Some of us, we're listening more to the Quran. We're reciting more the Quran. We're connecting more to the Quran. The question, as we're ending this month, is not how much you finished of the Quran, but how much the Quran has finished of your old personality. It's not how many pages you flipped, but how the Quran has flipped you and made a different person out of you. How the Quran has changed you. It's not the last verse that you have reached or approached, but it's the last decisions that you made that changed yourself because of the Quran. Quran is not a Ramadan thing. It's a journey of life. As you learn more and read more, it connects you more and brings more life to your heart. As you read in the Quran about a barren lady who were not given any child, a barren man who reached 100 years of his life when he made the dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, رَبِّ هَبْ لِي مِن لَدُنْكَ ذُرِّيَّةً طَيِّبَةً. The angels came down to tell him, إِنَّا نُبَشِّرُكَ بِيَحْيَى. We are giving you the glad tidings to Yahya. At the age of 100 years old. That every one of us should not be losing hope from now on. The only reason Allah brings us the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he put his family in a dead land and he made that dua, رَبَّنَا لِيُقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ فَاجْعَلْ أَفْئِدَةً مِنَ النَّاسِ تَهْوِي إِلَيْهِمْ. Oh Allah, bring more hearts to them. Hearts, not bodies. Ibrahim knows exactly what dua he's making. And he's asking Allah to bring more hearts to Mecca, because this is the only way you can bring life to the community. When those hearts are coming more and more to the... You know, when one of the young boys comes and tells me, Sheikh, I'm coming from the northeast, I'm coming from the northwest, from the southeast, just to pray at this masjid, it feels different. This is the exact response. This is the wish of Ibrahim. And when it comes true into our masjid, the Southwest Masjid, we're following the steps of Ibrahim alayhi salam. The dua of Ibrahim in Mecca is coming true to us. You build a connection that you never turn away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the moment you turn away, you remember, نَسُوا اللَّهَ فَأَنْسَاهُمْ أَنفُسَهُمْ. The moment you think that Ramadan is over, Allah is not over. Taraweeh is not over. And Qiyam is not over. And the Ibadah is not over. And whoever worships Ramadan, Ramadan is ending in 2 days. And whoever worships Allah, Allah is there every single night calling you. هَلْ مِنْ سَائِلٍ فَأُعْطِيَهُ هَلْ مِنْ مُسْتَغْفِرٍ فَأَغْفِرَ لَهُ. As today we finish the Quran and the Khatmah. Maybe many of us didn't witness the whole Khatmah. But all the pain and tiredness that you have experienced, from standing, long standings, and long sujood, and long ruku', the thirst and hunger that you have experienced, wallahi, you will forget it with the morning of an Eid. But the ajr and the reward of it still goes on and on. The same way when Allah tests you with difficulties and calamities, the pain of that difficulties will go away. And the reward and the patience that you show to Allah is written and engraved and never goes away. Those are life lessons. If we take them, it will certainly change our life, just like it changed the life of Prophet peace be upon him. So brothers, Allah bil Quran, Allah bil Siyam, steadfast on his path. Last but not least, in 2 days, we will be welcoming Eid al-Fitr. And with Eid al-Fitr comes another obligation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala obligates all of us with, Zakat al-Fitr. Zakat al-Fitr, as Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu said, فرض علينا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم زكاة الفطر على الذكر والأنثى والصغير والكبير والعاقل والمجنون صاعا من شعير وصاعا من تمر وصاعا من أرز. It is a wajib on every male and female, young and a child, mature or immature. Everyone has to pay it, and it has 2 conditions. To be a Muslim, which I suppose everyone applies to that condition. And the second one, al-qudratu alayha, that you're financially able to pay it. And as Rasulullah measures it, sa' equals 2 kilos. 2 kilos of wheat, 2 kilos of rice, 2 kilos of dates, that you give it to the poor Muslims. And as Rasulullah specified it, it is not eligible. It is not allowed to give it out in any other form other than Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam specified it. Some say I will give it out in money. Some say I will give it out in whatever form. But Rasulullah specified it. صاعا من أرز, صاعا من تمر, أو صاعا من شعير. It goes out as food. Because in the month of Ramadan, Allah held you back from consuming the food and drink And this is the time where you give food to the poor and the needy. And it is recommended to give it at the time, at the places and the communities where you live. So you look for the poor people in our community in Calgary and you give it for them. If you couldn't find the poor people, you send it back home as you may. However, every father is responsible for his family if they didn't fail. As Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, أَدُّ الزَّكَاةَ عَمَّنْ تَمُونُونَ أَدُّ الزَّكَاةَ, pay the zakah for those who are underneath you. For those of your family, your daughter, your son, your wife, they are all your responsibility to pay the zakat. And it is allowed to pay it 2 days before the Eid. We're expecting the Eid to be either Tuesday or Wednesday, according to the moon sighting. As Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, صُومُوا لِرُؤْيَتِهِ وَأَفْطِرُوا لِرُؤْيَتِهِ. You fast when you see it, and you break your fast of the month when you see the hilal as well. So you are allowed to give it 2 days before the Eid, and it is not accepted to give it after the Eid. وَالصَّدَقُ وَزَكَاةُ الْفِطْرِ بَعْدَ الْعِيدِ لَا تُجْزِئ. So make sure before Salatul Eid comes in place, you give Zakat al-Fitr out. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of our deeds in this month and make us worshippers, true worshippers of Allah, not worshippers of Ramadan, as this masjid will always be wishing you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends angels to the masajid. And Rasulullah says on the tongue of his Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, إِنَّ لِلْمَسَاجِدِ أَوْتَادًا إِنَّ لِلْمَسَاجِدِ أَوْتَادًا. Every masjid has people like pillars. الْمَلَائِكَةُ جُلَسَاؤُهُم. The angels are the companions. إِنْ غَابُوا افتقدوهم وإن مرضوا عادوهم وإن كانوا في حاجة مشوا معهم في حاجتهم حتى تقضى. If those people were absent, the angels would miss them. If they were sick, the angels would visit them. And if they were busy in any act of dunya, the angels would help them out in whatever affairs and matters until that matter is fulfilled. So don't let the angels miss you. You've been coming every night to the masjid here in Ramadan, to the point that the angels know your face. They know exactly how you smell, how you dress, what you car, how you park, how you act, and suddenly you vanished. The angels, rather than the board members and the Imam himself, will be missing you. So please don't let the angels miss you. بارك الله لي ولكم وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وقوموا إلى صلاتكم.